Well, we woke up this morning and there was actually a sand drift alongside of the van. So over the course of the night, the wind picked up and it was blasting today. But we pulled out of our camp spot and it worked out nicely. But we've got a long day of driving today and we are headed down the N1 towards Western Sahara. Now, Western Sahara is kind of, obviously the Sahara Desert, but we have been in desert for a while. And although there's a lot of rocks, we have noticed that the sand has definitely increased. And as we hop on the road, first thing I gotta say is the roads here have been really nice in this southern area. A lot of them are almost brand new, but the sand and the wind is really picked up and it makes for some eerie and scary driving. The sand just cuts across the road almost like snow drifting in the wintertime, and the wind whips, and as we come through here, there's up and down areas through the hills and maybe some sort of smaller mountains, and as you come through some of these passes, the wind changes directions, whirls around, snaps the van back and forth. So it really is a white knuckle drive. And the challenge is we have to drive for over 1,000 kilometers through this Western Sahara Desert to get on to our next place, which is the next country, which is Mauritania. So we've got a long driving day today. We've got about 5 hours planned. I'm first shift and Snow's second shift. So yeah, hang on folks, this is gonna be a tough drive. My ears are filling up with sand. You're looking for the great albino dromedary. One of the things about this stretch of highway that we're on right now, moving through the Western Sahara, is that the towns and the villages are few and far between. And a lot of the villages don't have gas stations or fuel stations. And based on our research, some of the ones who do may be out of diesel or maybe gasoline. Now we use diesel, so what we've decided to do is we're in this town. We're gonna go ahead and stop and fuel, and I'm gonna get down the spare tanks that we got as we prepared for Africa, and we're gonna go ahead and fill those up just for emergencies. Now, we think we're gonna be okay, but we just wanna make sure. Now, one thing that's been consistent pretty much throughout Morocco is that there's a lot of roundabouts, and as you come
8 kilometers.
And as you come up to the roundabouts, there is a reduction of the speed limit from 80 kilometers to 60 kilometers to 40 kilometers. And oftentimes there are police there, several of them. A lot of times they have radar guns, and there are all throughout these highway systems random radar checks, and they'll set up across the road. They'll reduce the speed limit, almost stop everyone, and they also have a lot of radar cameras. And so our Google kind of alerts us to that, but we really, with the size of our van and the weather conditions, we just don't even go the speed limit. We kind of stay under it, generally a little bit. Sometimes we stay under it a lot. In any event, we have been waved through every single one except for, I think, one or maybe two. And I think they were just more curious if we were really from the United States or not. But most of them, once they recognize that we have a foreign license plate, we just get waved on through. And so no big deal for us, but they are definitely pulling people over through here. And they do have a lot of efforts to sort of control the speed throughout the highway system in Morocco.
And the police here are always in very fancy, sharply dressed uniforms.
They are.
I mean, there is nothing informal about them. They look like they're like dressed in their finest uniform, but it's just the way they present themselves, and it's nice.
Yeah, sometimes they're kind of like I think like a light gray blue, but they always have their hats on,
all
their
their
belts.
yeah.
I mean, they are really sharp dressers. They do carry guns. It looks like a lot of them are like in a white holster on the side of their pocket. So, but anyway, Snow is correct. They're nice dressers. We have camel sightings. I don't know if you're going to be able to see those. They're a ways off the road right through here. There is a bunch of them. We have been seeing all kinds of camel crossing signs.
They're just out there eating grass. It's
just
the only grass we've seen for 100 miles. Look at them. I bet there's 50 of them or more. Camels!
We've been seeing camel crossing signs for a while, and so our eyes have been peeled for camels. Well, I'm going to tell a story on Snow. Back the ways we saw some, and I was driving, and she kind of missed him with the camera, whatever. We just saw a bunch of camels, and it's really cool. But we have a little story about these camels, and so these particular camels are one humpers.
Yes.
Now, so some camels have one hump, and some camels have two humps.
So we didn't know this. We had to do some Googling. So these are called, what are they called? Dromedaries.
Dromedaries.
Dromedaries. They're the one-humpers, and they are found here in North Africa and in the Middle East. So, and they're also known to be a lot easier to control and kind of tame, and that's how people ride them and all of that stuff. The other ones, I can't quite remember the name of them, but they have two humps, and they're going to be over in Mongolia and China, and they're a bit more wild. Now, the ones that are here in Africa and in the Middle East are more hardy, so they can handle these crazy deserts. So,
take the next left
camel facts.
Hopefully we'll see more as we move on down the road. I believe we will as we get further into the desert. But I should say we're also staring at the Atlantic Ocean. And so this road kind of goes along the Atlantic, on and off of it. And we're looking out, and the waves are not nearly as high here as they were there back where we stayed last night. But anyway, we're cruising along.
Show them these little coffee vans.
Oh yeah, we're cruising along the Atlantic, and see this little van right here? I don't know if you guys can see in the back of that.
A full-on barista outfit in the back of his tiny van.
Well, and they're all over down here. I can't believe we haven't talked about them yet, but yeah, you just ride along the road. A lot of times they have that little hatchback in their car popped up, or those little tiny vans that like will fit in the back side of our vans. And they got like a full-on
Coffee shop,
espresso, stainless steel coffee shop back there.
It's pretty.
Some breeds might have slightly different average lifespans. So if you see a camel, chances are it's been around for a
Yeah, I bet they do. They probably have to with the big ones.
Turn right to stay on.
In case you guys missed some of our prepping for Africa videos, we are sort of trying to move kind of fast to avoid rainy season as we move down through West Africa and towards South Africa. And so we've been picking up a little bit of time with Snow's doctor visit and Rabat going very well, and just a little time here and there. And we are going to continue to drive and push a little bit today. Now, we had a planned camp stop, but along here there's not really campgrounds. There's only wild spots along the coast. So we just kept pushing and pushing to try to get, well, to the next spot and then to the next spot. And we found this little spot on this military base a bit off the road on the coast. Now, there were probably plenty of sights to see here with some rocky cliffs and other stuff, but to be honest, we wanted to get some rest so we can have another big day tomorrow. Those guys are all huddled up like a couple cows before a storm.
They don't have sumo springs. Those things help with the wind.
Those things are awesome, man. Well, the wind didn't stop in the overnight, and so we got rocked to sleep, and well, the van just kept swaying back and forth all night, and we got up this morning early, first light, and got on the road, and guys, the sand and the wind just wears on you. It was a white knuckle morning for sure, and a couple things really stand out. Is number one, these sand drifts, when the sand actually sticks on the road and drifts across the road, or dune or whatever you call it, when you hit that sand, it is hard, just like a speed bump. You kind of think intuitively it'd be soft and fluffy. It is not. It's like hitting a big bump. And the second thing is, so essentially you kind of got to slow down, because a lot of times you can't see those because sand's just blowing all across the road. The second thing is these semi trucks, as you try to pass them, and fortunately we haven't had to pass too many, but they go pretty slow, and as you're going past them, of course you're fighting the wind the whole way, but then as you pass them, the draft from the truck pulls you into them. So it's kind of like you're fighting the opposite direction, and then all of a sudden the semi truck like sucks you into them. So all in all, it's been a white knuckle morning of driving, and we kind of entered into this small city. And typical in Morocco, at a lot of these roundabouts, you slow down from 100 to 80 to 60 to 40, and then there's a couple stop signs there. And in every single one, we've slowed down, and we did it this one too. We slowed down, and generally we kind of get waved on. So we were slowing down, and I'm looking at the police waiting for eye contact, and they told us to pull over. So I was like, oh, this is the first time. And they wanted all our documents. Well, one of those signs, like right before them, is a stop sign. So they were like, why didn't you stop? And it was like, well, because every time we kind of get waved, and I just thought we were kind of supposed to, you know, either get stopped by you or go forward. So anyway, I was in the wrong because I didn't come to a complete stop at the sign per se. And as we watched, as we were standing there, because they checked all our documents, I got out of the vehicle, I talked to several of the police. By the way, they were super nice, super cool, but we could see that all the other vehicles were coming to a complete stop and waiting in a queue until the police waved them on, which we had an experience that in all the places we've come through, that was the first time we experienced that. Now we know we will not make that mistake again, but they were cool. They let us off with a warning, and we are back on the road. Now, we kind of been wondering if these strong winds are sort of normal here, because we've come along and seen houses and people living and walking here. And the policeman, and again, I don't know how great his English was or whatever. It seemed pretty good. But anyway, he said that this is not normal, that there's a big like wind front that's here or whatever. And hopefully we should get to the end of it before the day's over. So we'll have to see. But anyway, we're on the road. We've got a long day of driving today. We're on a 2-lane road right now along the ocean. And it's pretty, but for the wind and the sand just blowing over and duning up on the road. And also, we thought there'd be more camels along the way, and we haven't seen too many of the dromedaries, so our eyes are peeled. Suppose the wind just wrapped that guardrail up. They're all wrapped up in the middle like that. There's the fish truck up the road for this.
No, that's the port, so we're not going down there. We must turn, yeah, we turn right before it.
In 600 feet, turn left.
This whole town is for the port. Look at that little thing carrying all those blocks.
Take the next left.
We've been driving for several hours already today, and we're getting ready to cross over kind of a border. Not technically into a new country, but that also depends on who you ask. We are about to leave the main Moroccan region and go into the Western Sahara region. Now, depending on which map you look at, the Western Sahara may look like its own country, or it may have a weird dotted line where the border is, or it may just look like it's all part of Morocco. But there's a little bit of history here. This is disputed territory. Now, back during colonial times, when everybody was conquering everybody, the French, the English, and the Spanish all came down to Africa and took over their own territories. Morocco was taken over by the French. The Western Sahara was taken over by the Spanish. Now, in the 1950s, the French left and gave Morocco back their independence. Sometime in the 1970s, Spain left Western Sahara and gave that territory back to Western Sahara. But Morocco had a problem with that because before, you know, all the Europeans came down and took over everything, they considered that part of their country. So they came down and did this big march. I think it was somewhat peaceful to begin with. Civilians, military, police, everybody. I think it was called the Green March or something like that in the 70s. And they came down and said, Western Sahara is part of Morocco. Now, Western Sahara didn't like that. And there was battles and guerrilla fights and militias and riots and protests for years. Finally, in the early 1990s, we'll say, I think it was 91, they came to an agreement. It did not resolve the issue, but it was a ceasefire. And then from the 90s all the way up till 2020, everything stayed somewhat peaceful. You know, I mean, the Western Sahara still believes they're their own country. Morocco believes that they're part of Morocco, but there was no physical confrontations and fightings. In 2020, things kind of revved back up. So this is an area where stuff can happen. You can have small militia breakouts or little guerrilla armed forces, and there is a turf dispute down here. And we are about to drive through that area. Now, this area is very rich in fishing grounds and it's used for agriculture. So it is important to whoever claims it economically. So Morocco does not want to let this go because it brings in a lot of money from the fisheries. Now, in Morocco's behalf, they do build nice roads down here, they do schools, they do all the government stuff, so they support the people of Western Sahara. But we don't know how long it'll stay peaceful here because there have been a few uprisings. Everything is somewhat safe right now, but we kind of wanted to explain that to you. Right now, the world sees Western Sahara as part of Morocco. That's how it's looked at on the world stage. But that could change one day. And we are about to drive right through the middle of it. But I think it's going to look like what we've been driving through for the past 2 days, right, Curt?
Well, you know, it's kind of been changing as we go down. More and more sand, and the dunes are starting to encroach on the roads.
It's true.
And oh, by the way, we just spotted some camels.
Yeah.
Now, they were way off the road, so I'm not even sure if they're going to show up on the camera. But we have to Google it and see if a big group of camels is called a herd of camels or something else.
Anyway, we did spot some cool camels. Some on the beach side, some over here way off in the distance. Our eyes are peeled for more of them. You wanna go see if they got coffee? What you doing, Curdy? Mid-morning break, having a little Sprite out of the fridge.
Yeah.
We decided, well, we pulled over to get some gas. We are now in the area of the desert where you don't pass an open gas station. Reminds me of Patagonia.
We just ran past a gas station that was out of gas.
So we stopped at the very next one, topped off. We only needed a half a tank, but that's where we're at. We'll be stopping at all the gas stations that are open, fueling up when we can. And we thought it'd be a good time to just take 20 or 30 minutes and let everybody rest, because today is going to be a super long drive day if things go well. Now, if the kitties start to get grumpy, it'll just be a kind of long day. We'll see how it goes. But the goal is to get about another 5.5 hours down the road, which is a long, long day. Got to one, Curt. There he is. Camels, camels. And camels. There's a bunch of them.
He ain't got no home.
He might still be a baby, that second one. That was a good camel spotting.
Oh, that guy's got a big old home.
He's an old.
Just a gas station.
Might be
Little
military
village.
or something. Flags
Yeah,
and
little-
titles.
Little town center. Radio station. That dude carrying that big old
Yeah.
bag on his head. Oh, there it is.
That's a good one. Police.
Yeah, I
40,
think this
20.
is like,
This one says Alte. Alto.
he's waving
He's
me
waving you
on.
on. Oh,
Gas is bleeding.
swordfish and some sort of ostrich or emos. Yeah, they're going to church. The men, not the women. The women don't get to go to church, I don't think. As we were pulling into the city of Boujdour, which I will put on the screen in case I'm pronouncing that wrong, we stopped properly, like we've learned we're supposed to, at the police stops that are usually at a roundabout, and especially at the beginning of a town. And we got waved over at this one. And I was filming from the car. I was told we needed to delete that, so we did. He took our passports, went into a small little building, checked them out, came out, took a picture of our license plate, and sent us on our way. The only thing that was a little bit tense about that one is he was not happy to see the cameras and actually physically watched me delete the footage. And all I had really deleted was Curt walking up to the little building with his passports. But all is good. We're gonna look for somewhere in this town to pull off, take a short break, have some lunch, and hopefully get farther south with some more driving this afternoon.
Continue straight.
Everything's closed today.
Yeah, it's Friday. 2 Western Unions here. This must be a big public transportation stopping point going through here.
I think the green means you can park there, huh?
I don't know. Maybe.
And the red means you can't.
Turn right.
Green right here. Sumo Springs, activate. Form of feathers and clouds.
Yeah.
Oh. We are about 9 minutes from where we hope we can camp tonight. This has been an incredibly long day. We got on the road at about 8 o'clock this morning. It is now 6:20, so we'll have been driving till about 6:30. We stopped for lunch, a coffee break, and I think we cast up 3 times today, didn't we, Curt?
Yeah.
It was a good day towards our goal of getting as far south as we could, but we are beat. The only thing that makes the end of this day exciting, well, 2 things. 1, it's almost over, and 2, we got some really good shots of some camels that were up close to the road 2 different times in this last little stretch. So hopefully you'll cross your fingers, this campsite works out, and we can get settled in, because tomorrow we get up and do it again.
Long day tomorrow.
Driving through the desert. We had a good night's sleep at our campsite by the ocean. We are on the road before the sun even comes up because the race is on to get to the next border before they close for lunch. This border is supposed to be hectic, a little bit chaotic, and is notoriously slow sometimes on both sides, both on leaving Morocco and when it is time to enter Mauritania. So our rush through the desert is paying off. We're ahead of schedule by about a half a day, but that puts us crossing the border in the middle of the day, which sometimes means can be delays. The sun's starting to peek up
Take
over
the
the
next
horizon,
left, then turn right.
and with that, you're going to have to come back in a few days to see how this next border goes.
In 600
The
meters,
notoriously slow and chaotic Mauritania border, which right now is 300 kilometers away. See you in a few days. Cheers. If you liked this video, be sure to hit that thumbs up button. It really helps us a lot. And if you want to see more of our videos, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so you know when new videos come out. We'll see you guys in a few days from somewhere out here in the world. Cheers.